Throwing and catching with Mr. Clasby. Hello and welcome everybody to Throwing and Catching with Mr. Clasby. I'm outside at the moment and I have a ball in my hand and I'm throwing and catching. Let's have a look at different pieces of equipment that we can throw and catch. Now, depending on the type of equipment that we use, we can make throwing and catching harder or easier. If we choose something that is small, it is harder to catch. If we choose something larger, it can be easier to catch. If it's heavy, sometimes it's hard to catch and it will travel up and down quicker. And if we choose something like a beach ball, it might travel through the air slowly. So we can make things harder or easier. There's a football. Football can be more difficult to catch because of the shape. Some balls have more grip, some balls have less grip. Depending on what you want to do and how you want to challenge yourself, you can choose any piece of equipment. There's a very small foam ball. And then we have a fluff ball. Here's an IKEA ball. And then we have a different size. Which one would be harder to catch, the smaller or the larger? Oh, what's this? We have La Lechuza. That is a very good fluffy toy. If you haven't got a ball, you can use a fluffy toy. So these are all different examples that we can use. What's this? It's a piece of paper. What could we do with a piece of paper? Oh, there we go. Now we have no excuses if we don't have a ball. Now that we have something to throw and catch, it's important to understand that we need a safe area to throw and catch in. I'm outside in my back garden. You might be inside. If you are inside, make sure that it is a soft piece of equipment that you use. Remember, you might be able to use a piece of paper to throw and catch. First, we're going to look at catching, and the most important part of catching is looking at the thing that you're trying to catch. Then we need to make sure our hands are ready and that we grab the ball and then pull in if we need to. So, let's go through that. Look at the target, hands ready, grab and pull in. Look at the target, grab and pull in. So let's use a ball now. So look, hands, grab, in. Look, hands, grab, in. Always looking when you are catching. Very important. Never stop looking at the ball. Now it's practice time. Let's make sure that we've continued to follow the key points of looking at the ball, having our hands ready, reaching out and grabbing the ball and then pulling it in. I'm just throwing and catching to myself at the moment. That's something that you can do. If you want to make it harder, you can use a smaller ball that travels quicker. If you want to make it easier, use a larger ball that travels slower and has more grip. Now that is just throwing and catching. Let's try and make it a little bit more difficult. We can do a clap in between. One clap or maybe two claps. And if we get really, really adventurous, maybe we can do 3 or 4. Let's have a look and see if I can do it. Oh, and I've challenged myself right to the point where I actually dropped the ball. And it's okay to drop the ball once in a while. We are learning, we are getting better. That's the most important thing to understand. We need to challenge ourselves, so we do drop the ball a little bit. As long as you're practicing the key points of looking, having your hands ready, reaching out, grabbing the ball, and then pulling it in, then you'll be fine. Once you're catching a lot of the balls with 2 hands very easy, then what we need to do is we need to make it harder. We then can start to throw with one hand and catch with one hand, as I'm showing here. I've started with my stronger hand, which is my right hand. I'm throwing, keeping my eye on the ball, reaching out, grabbing and catching. Sometimes when we have the ball thrown to us, we don't have the luxury of catching with our dominant hand, so we must always practice both left and right when we are catching and throwing. I've changed over to my left arm here because this is my weaker side and this is good practice. Make sure you do it too. I'm now going to alternate between the two hands. I'm doing a rainbow throw to the other hand. I'm trying to actually get it into my hand, so I'm throwing and trying to land it in my hand. It's very difficult, but I'm still following the principles of throwing and catching. It looks like I'm doing pretty well on this. Maybe you can challenge yourself. Or maybe you could come up with your own way of throwing and catching. It's up to you. Make something up and come up with a challenge of your own. Here's my challenge. I'm going to balance the ball on my head, and then I'm going to see it the last second before I catch it. It makes it a little bit more difficult because I can't see the ball until the last moment, and then I'm reacting to it as I see it. I'm going to use my elbow now. Balance the ball on the elbow, flick it up in the air and try and catch it. There's so many different ways that you can do throwing and catching. You don't necessarily have to use your hand. Now I just dropped the ball on the floor because I couldn't do it with a tennis ball. I just chose a beanbag. Now the beanbag seemed to go quite well. Now I'm going to have a go with the piece of paper. It didn't work so well. Maybe I have to practice a little bit more. Throwing underhand. So, key points to throwing underhand is you need to look at the target, you need to step towards it, release the ball and then point. Now, some fine points that we need to understand as well is I must stand with one foot in front and the ball at the back arm. We need to make sure that we are stepping towards, and when we release, it's really important because if we release high, it will go high. If we release up into the air, it will go into the air. If we release lower towards the target, which is on the floor at the moment, then we will find it will go towards the target and it will fly lower. So let's review that. Look at the target, step towards the target with the ball at the back, release the ball and point at the target. Look, step, release, point. Great challenge. Now this is a challenge where you have to throw in your object into the crate. It could be anything that can hold your object. We've got a green dot, a yellow dot and a red dot. The red dot's the furthest away. The challenge is to throw your object from each of these dots. You start at the green and then you have to get it in 3 times. If you get it in 3 times, you can move to the yellow. 3 times more, you move to the red. If you lose 3 times and miss 3 times, then you move forwards. Another game that you can play is move the dot back. Every time that you score, you move the dot back. Every time that you miss, you move it forwards. Don't forget to always follow correct key points to throwing the object. I've got it in twice. What do I do next? I collect my ball. I move the dot back. Let's see if I can get it in from here. Throw and a miss. So that means that I need to move forwards 1. Now I'm going to throw again. And I get it in, so I can move back 1. I think I'm going to challenge myself in a moment. This is getting too easy. He gets it in again. Right, let's have a go at something different. Let's move this ball over to the other hand, the hand that I don't throw with much. This will make it more difficult. Let's see if I can get this first one in. I missed. So, let's try again. On this next throw, you tell me if I'm doing anything wrong. Did you see it? My leg and my arm were the ones at the front, where really I need to change over and make sure the ball is at the back leg. Still missed though, but that's okay. It's okay to miss once in a while. We want you to be practicing at your level. Let's see from the side. And he gets it in. He's happy. Overhand throwing. So this time we're going to have an overhand throw Same principles. You look at the target. You stand sideways, elbows high. You step towards the target that you're throwing at. You throw and then follow through. It's really important that you understand that the ball is at the back and the opposite foot is at the front. Opposite foot, opposite hand. High elbow, step towards and throw. Look at the target, high elbow, step, throw. Follow through. So sideways, look at the target, elbow high, step, throw, follow through. The target's on the floor at the moment. We're still using the crate that's on the floor to give us a target to go at. Look at the target, sideways, step, elbow, step, follow through. And as you can see, the technique worked for me there. You might not get it straight away, and you might not be 100% accurate straight away, but just practice the key points. This is the furthest distance now, and I'm getting it in every time. And now moving on to throwing and catching with a partner. So, I have a partner here. This could be one of your parents, or it could be one of your siblings. It could be anybody that would like to throw. If you don't have a partner, you could throw against a wall. That's fine as well, because the way that it bounces off the wall, you need to react to. At the moment, I'm just getting the ball thrown to me high, and I'm catching high. You will see in a moment that there is a difference between catching high, above the chest, and how we catch the ball below the chest, because we don't have the luxury sometimes of catching it where we want. That's how you catch below the chest. You make a cup. Look at the cup. I'm making a cup. From above, I'm drawing a circle and bringing my hands down. It really works well for when the ball is really low. Any position, you should be able to react to it. Now, when you're doing these different games, you can challenge yourself by making it so that the catcher doesn't know where the ball is going to go. So you have to react to it. Either it's high, low, left, or right. It's up to you how you play this game. At the moment, I'm being challenged because the ball is going different ways. I'm standing on the balls of my feet. I'm not on my heels. I'm ready to react. You could make it so that both people who are throwing and catching are moving and reacting. That's a great way to make this even more difficult. It's completely up to you. You can come up with your own challenges and your own games. So in review for today, we have looked at catching, underhand and overhand. We've looked at throwing, underhand and overhand. Most important thing for you to remember, always look at the target if you are throwing and catching. If you do that, you'll normally be in good stead. Thank you very much for today, and see you next time.